Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of Talmbout Rasslin right here on the Black Phoenix Network. I'm your host, the untouchable J.R. Atkins, and this is your primary destination for wrestling conversation. And yes, the head wrap is back. So listen, first and foremost, as we always do, again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in this week and any other week that you have. Thank you for tuning into the Black Phoenix Network. That includes my other content, Manifesto Mondays, which you can go back and listen to. Season 1 ended, I want to say 2 weeks ago. Or you can catch my What's Up Wednesday articles, which come out every Wednesday that you can read if you're here on Substack for reading. Also, you can check out this podcast, Talking About Wrestling, right here on Substack. You can also check it out on YouTube, and you can also check it out on Spotify. Okay, if you check out Black Phoenix Network or Talking About Wrestling on Spotify, you can find me there as well. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, a rating, anything. Engagement is the key. Now that we've said all of that, I'm going to be honest here. I did not prepare for this week's show at all. It wasn't a particularly newsworthy. It actually is slightly newsworthy, but it depends on what matters, right? So this probably will be a shorter show. But I wasn't prepared for this week. I just kind of like, oh, I got to do the show. So you know what? We're going to wing it. We're going to wing it. This is going to be a winging it episode, because sometimes we're going to do that, because you know what? At the end of the day, you don't have to have a plan. Just got to talk about wrestling. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about a little wrestling. When in doubt, just review Dynamite, right? This week was the homecoming show, aka Title Tuesday, that went head up with NXT. NXT was doing their Invasion / ShoWdown show between them and TNA, which I mentioned last week that I was looking forward to. I didn't watch it. I know a lot of the results, and I saw a lot of the clips. So, pretty big things happening. Tomorrow will be the Crown Jewel paper PLE again, which I will not be watching because I don't have the ESPN thing anymore or at all, and I don't plan to get it. So there's that. Dynamite was a good show, as always. Dynamite always pretty much always hits. It wasn't particularly newsworthy, except for a lot of matches being made for Wrestle Dream, and which is next weekend. And I'm still on the fence about whether I'm going or not. I'm leaning heavily towards it, but I'm not sure. But I'm leaning very heavily towards catching Wrestle Dream in St. Louis next weekend, next Saturday. Actually, it will be. So stay tuned for that. And I may even, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But we'll talk about a little Dynamite, and we'll cover some news stuff, and we'll cover anything of note that came out of the ShoWdown show as well. Dynamite, again, was a good show. I keep saying that I'm not gonna review and go like segment for segment or match for match. I'm gonna try not to. But I'm gonna run through the show, and we'll see. Whatever touches my spirit touches my spirit. We'll see what happens, right? So Dynamite opened up with a face-to-face between Hangman and Samoa Joe. A lot of bars dropped in this one. Pretty much was an extended version of last week's situation between Joe and Hangman. Hangman pretty much saying, you want the title, I'm going to give you a shot because I owe you that. Samoa Joe is saying, you're not a champion. You wouldn't be a champion if it wasn't for me. And there is some truth there. If you really want to get into the nitty gritty, there is some truth there. So I'm trying to. So good back and forth between them. Joe has always been like a top notch promo, so I don't even know uh, kind of what you would expect, what else you would expect from those two. Uh, they're kind of going with the angle of sounds like that Joe can't outlast Hangman. That the longer the match goes and the more he throws it at Hangman, so it's gonna probably be one of those things where Joe's beating the shit out of Hangman, and Hangman won't stay down and runs out of steam and that kind of thing. Um, but that match, there are a lot of matches with Hangman that like, and Joe too for that matter, that are like, ooh, that's an intriguing proposition, you know. Um, so I am looking forward to that as a title match. And it's one of the things like where you don't need a whole lot of story. And it takes Hangman away because see, here's the thing: Death Rider's thing is still so hot, and them and him being and Mox being like still kind of the top heel in the company, and all the other heels kind of being tied up in Don Callis family, pretty much. Um, Hangman is kind of short on the heel contenders. This is kind of a strange. Joe is like kind of playing heel a little bit in this situation, but he's not necessarily the heel. Joe's just Joe. I think that's kind of the thing there. So, um, good to see where this goes. We'll see where Hangman goes after this. I think you do have some interesting propositions. You got Ricochet. Um, with the tenor of kind of what this is with with Joe, because like I said, Joe's not necessarily a heel. He's just Joe. There's absolutely a case to be made. You probably would have to do. I think it would be too soon, maybe because you haven't done enough. I guess in terms of build as a single star, but like Lashley's on the horizon, you could definitely do that. Like I said, Lashley, I think is a good proposition. Ricochet is a good proposition because you got to do something because so many of your heavy hitters are still out. Um, Spoiler alert of sorts. Kota Ibushi is injured again. He's probably going to be out for a while, so not necessarily that he was like one of your top guys that you kind of been working, but having him out again is a another another blow to your roster. So that's definitely going to be a problem. Of course, we opened up with Mox and Ishii. That was just two bulls beating the hell out of each other. Really like that. Um, we get the Bucks are broke, so now they're looking for a money match because they need some money. Sidebar. You see, you get bam, little P1 energy. AJ Styles, I'll talk about him in a little bit as well. Um, we had the street fight between Her Syndicate and the Demand. Uh, of course, Her Syndicate went over, which I predicted. Um, just the your car crash, uh, great mix of styles, and they just beat the shit out of each other all over the match. So another good thing. I don't know what's next. I would like the Demand to win the 6-man titles. I don't. I thought that for the Hurt Syndicate, but now I kind of see where MVP is, and I don't think that would work. Seeing how he is in the ring, and I don't know if he's like, I don't know if he's actually lost a step or if he was wrestling like he's lost a step or so. He wrestled more like a manager almost. That he wrestled for like what he kind of presents as a wrestler who's more of a manager now than he is actual talent, but can still kind of go. Um, so I don't think there's really a future for them as a trio for the trios championships unless you bring in Cedric Alexander. I was going to like try to tease it, but unless you bring in Cedric Alexander, his contract apparently is coming up soon in TNA. The word is that he's expected to resign, but hey yo, They're doing business over there. So there's that. But again, if you don't want to do that, then again you can have Lashley go after Hangman. Again, I think you have to build him as a single star, but that shouldn't take too long. And they've given people like, look, Joe's a former champion and everything, but he's been doing trio stuff for a minute, and this is his second world title shot in like at least the second. Yeah, it's the second world title shot in like 2 or 3 in the last 6, 7 months or so, maybe. Because he had the title shot before Double or Nothing. So against Mox. So this is his second title shot of the year, let's say that. And he's been doing mostly trio stuff all year. So there's absolutely space for Lashley to rack up a few wins and get a title shot. And I think that would be between now and Full Gear, maybe. I think, yeah, Full Gear's in November. So yeah, between now and Full Gear, absolutely have a chance to build up Lashley as a threat to Hangman. And really, you got Lashley, like I said, Lashley, Ricochet, and I don't know who else you could even pull up into that space. I think both of those are good candidates. They can take you through the rest of 2026 as your two main programs for Hangman leaving going into 2026. So we'll see where they go. We have the return of Jurassic Express taking on a couple of jobbers. Of course, they win. Bucks come out and attack them afterwards. BTE trigger. Did they do the? I think they did the BTE trigger on probably Luchasaurus. Did a call back to the segment where Jack Perry in Daly's place attacked Tony Khan, or Jack Perry in the Elite attacked Tony Khan. Did a call back to that. Cool. And of course, they made the match official, where it will be the Bucks versus Jurassic Express at Wrestle Dream. So another Wrestle Dream match being made. TNT Championship match, you had Kyle Fletcher versus Kyle O'Reilly, the Battle of the Kyles. The crowd wasn't doing the Kyle thing as much as, like, I know when they went with that, and Kyle O'Reilly cut a promo prior to where he kind of mentioned, don't chant Kyle because it doesn't make me hate, and I know, and it was deliberately meant to fire them up to do the Kyle chants like they did the first time they had the match. The Daily's Place crowd didn't really buy into it this time. Like, it wasn't quiet per se, but they didn't buy into the Let's Go Kyle thing like the other crowd did. So that's an interesting thing that happened. But match itself still fire. Again, it's Dynamite. It's Kyle Fletcher. It's Kyle O'Reilly. Of course, they went out there and did what they do. Kyle Fletcher gets the win, of course. Then they try to jump Kyle O'Reilly. Conglomeration comes out. Don Callis family comes out. Mark Briscoe comes out, and they have a stare down, and Kyle Fletcher backs down. So now they're going to have a match, of course, between I want to say it's the 5th. No, it was Orange Cassidy and Pac, if I'm not mistaken. But they're going to have another match, Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe. I'm assuming that's at Wrestle Dream. Let me check. I feel like that's at Wrestle Dream, because they feel like they were trying to build their card up with this show in particular. Like I said, I think I said this last week. They were building two things. They were building up Wrestle Dream, and they were building up this Title Tuesday show. So let's see. Is that match made official for? I'm gonna go to WrestleZone. So yes, that match is official for Wrestle Dream. Mark Briscoe versus Kyle Fletcher will be a banger, of course. If you said that it felt like a Dynamite match because we've seen it on Dynamite and Collision so many times, I get it. And the fact that I don't think Mark Briscoe was going to win also is kind of like, oh, well, that's an interesting thing to do for Wrestle Dream, but okay, I guess. He is on a wave of momentum. He beat them in JF, so maybe. But I don't think they're gonna do that. Because on the other side of that is Kyle Fletcher, whose TNT title reign is like in full swing now. And he's in the midst of trying to prove himself as this greatest TNT champion ever. So losing it to Mark Briscoe, I don't think will be the move. So I don't know what I don't know. That's an interesting decision. But I get it. All right. Cool. We had Mercedes versus so this was supposed to be somebody local to Florida. There were a lot of speculation about who this could be. The two top contenders I saw people saying were Dakota Kai and Izzy from NXT fame, which would have been a really cool shout out and callback if you know, you know. Um, so it wasn't either of them. It was Lacey Lane, who was formerly Kaden Carter in NXT. Uh, cool enough, you know. They did a package on her to kind of it wasn't even like a big shock thing. They did a package on her to say who it was going to be, and then it just happened. So it was cool. I could be a fan of Lacey Lane if not for one reason, then for a couple of others. Anywho, there was that Mercedes wins, of course. They didn't do anything in the way of announcing like who's next for her. I don't think. So I don't even think she's gonna have a match unless something happens between now and next weekend. I don't think they're going to. She's gonna have a match at Wrestle Dream. She did just win her 10th title somewhere. So now she's 10 belts Monet, which I thought they would do something else with that, but okay, that's cool. So again, we're going in the complete different direction than what I thought we were going to do with her with losing to Tony at All In. But whatever, right? Moving along. We had the double Jeopardy eliminator match, Brodito versus Okada and Takeshita. Bandito's hurt, and I don't know. I assume he's actually hurt. I don't think that's a kayfabe injury because I saw the report that like he was hurt, but he was still going to try to work. So unless that was a work, I think this is legit injury. I'm not sure, but he worked the match, and he's working the match at Wrestle Dream because they lost. So Okada and Takeshita are going to get a title shot at Wrestle Dream. This match was great, of course, because it look who's in it, right? The story of the match was, of course, Bandito's arm, and of course the fact that Okada and Takeshita hate each other. So, of course, that's going to be, the story there. And it's leading up to it's leading up to the Okada Takeshita match, and I'm not sure where they're going to do it. I still think Tokyo Dome, but I also think it'd be kind of weird for them to be building that story in AEW to do it in the Tokyo Dome. However, the show, well, we'll see. We'll see. I won't say that because the show that they'll probably, if they do that, the show they'll do it on probably will be an actual AEW produced show. So maybe. I foresee, obviously, they're probably going to lose at Wrestle Dream because of the miscommunication between Takeshita and Okada. I'm waiting on that match because I know that's going to be that might be one of those matches that like low key could be match of the year contender. Off the top of my head, I feel that could be the case. Then you have your main event, Orange Cassidy versus Pac, a rivalry that goes all the way back to 2020 in AEW lore. Somebody mentioned before, like AEW, to show you how far we've come in AEW, that you can have moments and rivalries now that actually call back to a time when people didn't know, about it before. That you can have those kind of callbacks now that people can come back and it's like, yo, this is a callback to a thing in its own lore. Like it's not a callback to, something somewhere else. It's like, no, this is a callback to its own lore, to AEW's own lore. So that's cool. Orange Cassidy wins, thanks to a little bit of assistance from Darby. Darby first of all, Pocky Pack, completely new look. Of course, he cut the hair, so he's rocking the short hair. I would say Jack, but he's always been Jack. Shorter beard, I think he's kind of rocking more of a goatee, not like a beard like he kind of has in the past. Completely different look. He went with long tights and like in a singlet kind of look. The long tights make his upper body look even more. I don't know if he is or not more Jack, and I feel like his style was more bruiser and power than it was like the high flying stuff that we're used to from Pop. And I don't know if I'm not sure why that is. I'm not sure if that's a conscious decision or if that's a necessary decision. Remains to be seen. He didn't pull out a lot of the traditional Pac stuff that we're used to, the traditional speed and explosiveness. It was more it felt more power. I have to go back and watch it maybe, but it felt more power and punish than explosive speed. So he did pull out some stuff. I mean, he did like the spot was basically Darby hand like foot cuffs basically him to like a rail. Pac breaks it, jumps back over the top rope into the ring to break the 10 count, and then gets rolled up by Orange Cassidy, and he wins. Following the match, Death Riders are searching for Darby. They find him. Darby's kind of setting traps for him. And then he tries to like throw a Molotov cocktail at him. And security like spears him aggressively to stop him from doing it. Again, I said this with the coffin match. I mean it even more now. The idea of those two in a match terrifies me because I have no idea the lengths that they will go to. There's a chant of like, please don't die, please don't die. And I think that every single time these two men are in the ring together, I'm sorry. Like, I think that about Mox and Swerve, if they ever get into like death match territory, I think it'll be kind of similar. But Darby wants to die. You won't convince me any different that Darby wants to die, and I'm terrified that he's gonna, you know. And Mox is like, yeah, I'm with it. Let's go. Crazier the better. I'm with, we know Mox is lunatic. So just please don't die. Please don't die. And that's Dynamite. So we ran through it really fast that time. Normally I don't. Normally I get all long winded. Again, it was a good show. Don't mistake my lack of deep analysis for it not being a good show. It absolutely was a good show. Great show. And like I said, it did a lot in the way of setting up the rest of this Wrestle Dream card because that kind of was sitting kind of not stagnant, but we only had a few matches announced. So now we're looking at a little more of a full card. Let's see if I have a full rundown here. Yeah, there we go. There'll be more. I said what I said about Mercedes, but looking at it now and knowing how AEW does, there will absolutely be more. So right now we have the Darby Allin and Mox I Quit match, which I'm pretty sure probably going to make. Looking again, probably definitely going to main event. Hangman versus Samoa Joe for the AEW World Title. Chris Statlander and Tony Storm for the women's title. Jurassic Express versus the Bucks. Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe. Rodito versus Okada and Takeshita. So those are just 6 matches that they've announced. I can almost assure you there'll be at least 2 more. Probably something with Mercedes, but it's gonna have to come out of nowhere. I'm not sure what else. Maybe another. Well, there'll be 2 women's matches, and they're gonna do 3. And then there's whatever's gonna be on like the pre-show card, and then that's the thing too. It feels like everything that was on Dynamite got a match attached to it, except for Mercedes. Mox and Ishii basically is, I mean, Mox is attached to obviously um the Darby match. Her syndicating the demand. It's too soon for anything to materialize for either of them next week. So highly doubt that as well. We'll see. Um, Jurassic Express, of course, that led up to the Bucks match. Kyle and Kyle led to Kyle versus Mark Briscoe. Mercedes doesn't have anything. Of course, there's the Brodito Okada to catch the match. OC and Pac was more just to lead to the Darby stuff with Mox. So everything from Dynamite pretty much was like wrapped in a bow. So I'm not really sure what else they could add to um, Russell Dream. You could probably do Danny Garcia. What was on Collision? Let's see if I can find that. You probably do because eventually you're gonna have to do Danny Garcia versus Matt Menard, but that doesn't that again that could be that's not a pay per view match, unfortunately. Uh, Pre-show maybe it's probably more of a pre-show match. If I'm being honest. Uh, let's see. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, okay. Probably gonna do FTR. That'd be like 3 tag team matches though. I don't know if they're gonna do that. FTR versus Jet Speed is definitely seems like it's on the way to happening. Um, and maybe something with Eddie Kingston, and it's probably gonna be Eddie Kingston and Sammy Guevara somewhere. That sounds like a pre-show match too. But um, Eddie's been doing a lot of stuff with LFI. Um, FTR, of course, FTR and Jet Speed are feuding right now. They're having the 6-person next either. No, it's on Collision. I think it's on Collision, and I probably could find the spoilers, but I'm not going to do it right now. Um, so they're doing that, but eventually there's probably going to be the straight up tag team match between FTR and Jet Speed. That could be on the match. That could be on the card for Wrestle Dream. Probably should be. And if the spoilers, you know what? Now I'm going to find the spoilers because now I need to know. Now I need to know. I could see that that would be a third tag team match for that card, but it's AEW and they are big on tag team wrestling, so why not, right? And one of those are the one is the titles, one's the Bucks. FTR deserves that as well. I'm watching. I'm reading. I'm reading. I'm reading. Uh huh. Uh huh. Uh huh. Uh huh. Ah, wait. That's random. I'm deliberately not giving you spoilers. Okay. So nothing seems to be announced. We'll see what happens with the actual show. Nothing seems to be announced as of the spoilers that I'm watching and that I'm looking at. So again, AEW pay per views go mad long, so um, expect it to be mad long. Uh, Again, still on the fence about. I'm leaning very heavily. I keep saying I'm on the fence. I am leaning very heavily towards going to this show, but we will see. We will see. I'll cover the NXT show very quickly. Who are these people? Oh, that's Dark State. Okay. I said, who are these people on NXT? See, I don't even watch. So NXT had winner takes all tag match for the TNA and NXT championship, tag team championships. And I will just say again that I cannot wrap my head around the TNA WWE NXT partnership. Can't even what is happening? What is happening here? And it's weird because a lot of people have always said like, yeah, WWE man is going to buy TNA because that's what they do. They're going to do it just like they did. So, like, there's the thing now that WWE just buys companies, the competition. It does feel like there's a lot of flags pointing towards they're going to buy TNA. I hope not, but they seem very locked in on this partnership. So go figure. It's only a matter of time, probably. So the fact that both of these titles are on the line, TNA titles are being defended on NXT. NXT championships are being defended on TNA. NXT superstars are holding TNA titles. It's not really happening vice versa, but whatever. Well, up until now, because the Hardys beat Dark State and won both sets of titles. Now, it's a little different because the Hardys are very WWE. So the fact that they're being used, it's not the same. It's not entirely the same, but I get it. It's not like if like Chris Bay and Ace Austin had came over and won the NXT championships or something, and they never had any kind of WWE connection. Putting those belts on the Hardys, especially going into a match versus it's Team 3D, but you know what? Are they calling them the Dudleys? Because that's gonna be a very WWE thing as well. Because they had never been the Dudleys in TNA. They were Team 3D. That's just very again. Can't even wrap my head around any of this. Just whatever. But it absolutely made sense for them to have both sets of titles going into their big match with Team 3D and Bound for Glory. So, absolutely. Women's Survivor Series match, Team NXT beat Team TNA, which was headed up by the TNA Women's Champion Kalani Jordan, who is an NXT superstar. Makes sense. So of course that kind of telegraphed, unless they were going to be ultra petty, they kind of telegraphed that the men were going to win. That's usually how these things tend to go. Whoever wins one, the opposite wins the other. When you have those types of brand things, when it's Raw versus SmackDown or whatever, that's usually how that goes. So, let's see. We had Ethan Page versus Mustafa Ali. Ethan Page, of course, got the dub, of course. But there was a lot of story there with that one. There's word that JC Jane is injured. Wonder where that's gonna go. Probably nothing major. We'll see. And of course, we had the men's elimination, and we had Team TNA pick up the win, which is huge. Because again, I cannot wrap my because that team was very non WWE, unlike the women's team. This is Mike Santana, who was very TNA, then AEW, then TNA again, but not WWE. But I bet they got that eye on him now. Moose again, very TNA. Frankie Kazarian, who was everything but WWE, even though he was in WWE briefly, but not enough to have made any kind of noise. Everybody know him from everywhere else. And Leon Slater again, TNA, defeated Team NXT, who was very, very NXT. That is wild, mind-boggling. Let's see what else. And that's that on that. The end of it, I think, was Trick abandoning Ricky Saints, and against like 3 or 4 people, or maybe against like the whole team. I think it was for TNA. It feels like what it was. Miles Morales eliminated. Yeah. And then Trick walked out. So yeah, Trick walked out and left Ricky basically to fight the whole Team TNA by himself. So of course he lost. And I'm assuming we're moving towards the Trick Williams versus Ricky Saints program, which has to be the last thing before we send Trick up to Maine. Because it just kind of rehashing at this point. Trick probably loses the TNA title to Mike Santana and Bound for Glory. And then we move on to Ricky's. And Ricky probably cost Trick the title at Bound for Glory. Though they probably shouldn't do that. Mike Santana should probably win that clean, but whatever. Which will lead us to Trick and Ricky Saints. Which again has to be. People are talking about like, oh, but Femi moving up to Maine because since he lost the title. Same can be said for Trick. Get Trick out of there, man. Like, dude. Especially because you got Ricky. Ricky can be whatever it is you're trying to keep Trick there for, because Trick is over. Even as a heel, Trick is way over. Whatever it is you're trying to keep Trick there for, Ricky Saints can be that. He's a little arrogant, little whatever, but yeah, well, you know, whatever. So you can absolutely do that. Get Trick up out of there, man. I don't know what you're gonna do with either one of them on Maine, because they're kind of crowded and they booking they whatever, but something, do something. Do something. So there's that. Looks like that was a good show. Again, I don't watch because I can't watch. I don't even have the means. The only thing I can watch WWE right now is Raw on Netflix. Because I'm not doing the ESPN thing. I don't have linear cable, so I can't watch SmackDown or NXT. So the only thing I could watch would be Raw, and I'm not watching Raw on Mondays. I'm sorry. And hadn't watched that consistently since 2019. And and I've told that story why. Go check out my What's Up Wednesdays. The article is named 1 Week in 2019, where I discussed that. So, no, just not gonna do it. But good on them. Good on them. In other news in general, few things of note. The phenomenal AJ Styles has announced that he will retire. He said this before, so this isn't really news. But I think it's the first time you really hear him say it. I think he said it straight out on the kickoff show for Crown, not kickoff, but whatever the day before show is that they have when they're doing these big shows in Perth, Australia for Crown Jewel. He said in 2026 he will retire. And let me tell you, two things need. You know what? There's probably a longer list than that because I hadn't thought about it. And I could probably make next week's show 5 things that need to happen in the AJ Styles retirement tour so that it's not a waste of time like John Cena's was. They need to make that happen. I might do that. That might be next week's show. Maybe. Don't hold me to it, but maybe. Because again, might be on the road as well. So we'll see. So again, as you see, I'm rocking my P1 for my. If you watch my fave of my all-time faves, of course, AJ Styles is on that list. So seeing him retire, here's what's sad. Seeing him retire and he doesn't get an AEW run feels wrong to me because it feels like, oh, there's so many matches. But I understand he's getting up there in age and he's like, yeah, let me go. Like he's like, if I can't, he's doing that thing that a lot of wrestlers do. If I can't perform the way I used to perform, then it's time for me to hang it up. And he's talked a lot about staying and becoming a producer and working backstage at WWE, which feels like such a waste. It does. There's so many matches. AJ and Kenny, AJ and Kyle, AJ and Swerve, AJ and Hangman, AJ and give me AJ and Joe again. Give me that. AJ and MJF. Oh, yes. Give me all of that. AJ and Bandito, Pac, Mox. Give me AJ and Mox again. That would boo. AJ and Orange Cassidy. AJ and Darby. Oh, I'm making myself mad. I'm making myself mad. So yeah, there's so much. Him not getting the AEW run hurts me, but I understand. He seems to be a WWE lifer, so whatever. Let me sad to see him go, man. Again, one of my all-time faves. Some of his matches are legendary. Doesn't even begin to describe it. I am just. I have. Let me show you. I'll just show you. And this doesn't even really mean much in the grander scheme of things, because I know there are people who probably have more, but just yeah. See, it wasn't even that far. You have to go that far. So we have. Oh, I didn't even what I wanted. It'll do. Yeah. We have this. You see that? Yeah. Best of Phenomenal AJ Styles. These are very early. This is before like they even had the TNA titles. This is very early AJ Styles stuff from TNA. There's a volume 2 that has more of the heel stuff kind of in the middle. I didn't get that one, but I didn't need to get that one because then I got this one. That I feel like came out after he left. I'm almost certain of it. The last match on here is Bound for Glory, where he won the TNA Championship right before he lost it to Nick Aldis, who was Magnus at the time. That match isn't on here, but I don't think it's on here. It may be. When did this come out? 2016. Yeah, he was long gone by then. And the most recent, because of course I had to get into WWE, right? AJ is my guy, man. AJ is my guy. Amazing how they hadn't had the same pose on both. Big AJ Styles fan, man. Hate to see him go, but I understand completely why. Thank you for so many years of being phenomenal. So happy that his WWE run has been what it is. Don't get me wrong. Last couple of years, it's kind of been here and miss. But even then, he's had some good matches. The stuff with Cody was it last year? Yeah, the stuff with Cody last year in France, where he did the fake retirement thing, the Mark Henry angle. He's perennially has been in the conversation as one of the top guys in the company. Even when he's in the mid card, he's always had a very big spot. So very happy about that, because the fear for a lot of people, him going to WWE was going to be, he's going to be made a joke. And he has not been made a joke. He's actually been pushed really, really fairly, I think. I would have loved another title run for him, but he had a very significant title run to begin with. So, or two of them. Is he like a 2 or 3-time champion? He's at least twice WWE. No, he's like a 1-time WWE and maybe a 1-time Universal. If I'm not mistaken. No, that's wrong. 2-time WWE champion. Again, at least, if not 3. Intercontinental champion, if I'm not mistaken. I think. Definitely United States, for sure. Tag team champion. He's had a pretty decent career. I want to say maybe on both shows. So his WWE run has been very, very successful. I'm very happy with how that turned out. In other news, Santos Escobar contract ran out, and he left WWE, made officially a free agent, and then signed back to the company a couple of days later. Got my hopes up for nothing. I thought he was like, oh, it's lit. They got Andrade. Now they about to get Santos. We cooking over in AEW. Please don't let him join the Don Callis family because that seems to be the thing. But maybe let him join the LFI. But maybe that's too much for him and Roosh. I don't know. Didn't even have to worry about none of it. He signed back. Apparently they had big plans for him. So what did fucking do? I actually do hope they have big plans for him. He deserves it absolutely because they push him as like a big deal. It's one of the situations like with everybody else who goes to NXT, really big deal in NXT, goes to main roster, not so much. But it seems like they say they have big plans now that they've re-signed him, so we'll see. On SmackDown tonight, which I didn't watch, but I've seen the spoilers. We have the pairing of Aleister Black now and Zelina Vega, which makes a lot of sense. Not sure how that's going to look on TV. Not sure how it's going to work. Aleister's thing is like being spooky, but not spooky. Creepy, but not spooky. Zelina's been presented in some interesting ways. Like she's kind of been presented here lately as the Latina Spitfire when she was on LF in LWO. So I wonder how they're going to. Their aesthetic is so strange in real life, so I'm curious how it's going to come off on TV. That intrigues me. I'm not really sure how it's going to go. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see how it goes. What else is in the news? I mentioned Coda being injured. JC's injured. Crown Jewel is in a. You're watching this on Saturday. I'm recording it Friday night. Full transparency. You're watching this Saturday morning, so it's probably on as once this goes live because it's in Perth and they show those at different times and things. So it's probably on now. Yeah. I'll run down the card. Why not? Of course, they're doing Seth versus Cody for the Crown Jewel Championship, the Big Gaudy Championship, which I thought was going to stay in Saudi Arabia, but apparently not. Apparently, it just goes wherever Crown Jewel is. Not mad at it. Not mad at it at all. So we're doing that match. And for the women, it's Tiffany Stratton versus Stephanie Vaquer. I always want to say it like Naomi because I know it's Stephanie Vaquer, but Naomi say how she say it, and I'm from Memphis in this Glorilla, so the urge to be like Vaquer, Kerr, go figure. For the women's Crown Jewel Championship, the Australian Street Fight: Roman Reigns versus Bronson Reed. That should be interesting. I almost feel like Bronson should win, but maybe not. We'll see. Rhea Ripley and Io, because of course you got to get Rhea on this show, versus the Kabuki Warriors. Should be interesting. They're probably going to win. This feels like one of those things that, like, with what the story has been, the Kabuki Warriors should win it, but we'll see. We'll see. John Cena versus AJ Styles. Speaking of both of those, well, AJ Styles. Very strange match with no build and how they got to it and everything was kind of weird, but whatever. Doesn't even need a story. The match is the story. John Cena retiring. AJ is retiring next year. So I do think they're going to put on something very special, or as special as they can be, because it's AJ. And I have all the faith in the world in AJ Styles. I think that was it. I just went through those kind of fast. Another five match card. I'm not even going. Well, I guess I can make some predictions. I've kind of made some already. I think Bronson Reed probably takes Roman Reigns because he's in Australia. Because you got Bronson and you got Rhea on the show, and one of the hometown people is going to win. It makes more sense in theory that it would be Rhea because she's the baby face. But the Kabuki Warriors, it's kind of one of those things where you need the establishing win. and their heel turn needs to be established. So maybe they'll do that. My pick is going to be Kabuki Warriors. So I'm going with for that. For the street fight, Roman Reigns, Bronson Reed, I'm going to go Bronson Reed. Crown Jewel Championship. Ooh. Stephanie McCurry just won the title. Tiffany Stratton has been holding it for a while, so she's the established. I'm going with Stephanie. Stephanie's going to win that. John Cena's going to be AJ Styles. That's not even. They're not going to pin him again. He just lost to Brock. And I actually think Seth beats Cody this time for the Crown Jewel Championship. Unless they want to save that. Because there's an interesting dynamic there. Kind of, sort of. Roman Reigns has never beat Seth Rollins. Actually beat him in a one-on-one match. Probably at all. I think it would be interesting to have Cody be the one that Seth can beat. And that's kind of been the story they've been telling us so far, is that Cody's like, we've had 3 matches and you've never beaten me. So I think it's kind of interesting to be able to keep that going. Maybe you put it on Cody. Maybe I feel like it should be Seth, but maybe you want to save it for something bigger. Because this is big, but like not big enough. So maybe you save it for Cody. I don't know. I'm going with Cody. I know I said Seth to start. I'm going with Cody because I think there's a bigger story at play. Though they don't seem to care about that kind of thing, we'll see. So anyway, told you it's going to be a shorter show. We're at less than an hour. All right. Get in, get out. Bing, bang, boom. So with all that being said, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Talking About Wrestling again. And thank you for tuning in to the Black Phoenix Network. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a rating. Tell a friend, tell a wrestler, tell anybody. Engagement is the key. Do I need to get in the camera and say this? I want y'all to make sure. I want to make sure y'all, hey. Engagement is the key. I need your engagement. Comment, like, share, subscribe. Share again. Tell people. Leave a rating. Listen, watch. Talking About Wrestling is available here on Substack, as you can see. But it's also available on YouTube. And also available on Spotify. Now, I could do this in a more promo fashion, but I'm not. I'm not going to do that. Again, I want to thank you again for tuning in to another episode of Talking About Wrestling. We are hanging in there. Next week will be if we're not there already, I have to count because I think if this isn't it, next week will be our 10th episode. And that's a bit of a milestone. Maybe not to you, but it is to me. All right. So, with all that being said, thank you again for tuning in to another episode. Thank you for taking your time to listen to me ramble on and do what I do best, and that's talk about wrestling. All right. So for all of you, okay, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Whatever. All that being said, I am your host, the untouchable J.R. Atkins, and this is Talking About Wrestling, your primary destination for wrestling conversation. And yes, this is the head wrap, and hopefully it will not be back next week, but it might. So until next time, as I always say, we are out.